Hey, you! Do you want to become rich? For only $1 million or a subscribe, I can show you how you can become rich by only pressing 4 keys. Hello and welcome, fellow coders. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't worry, I'm not going to sell you some get rich quick without lifting a finger BS, but I'm still convinced that you can become rich. If you take a decent amount of your paycheck, put it into the stock market and do this for the next 20 to 30 years, the magic of compound interest will kick in and you will retire as a pretty wealthy human being. One way of investing into the stock market is to buy ETFs. These are so-called exchange traded funds. I'm not going to go into the details here, but basically an ETF is a basket of different shares. So instead of buying one share of Google, Amazon or Netflix each, you can take this and basically buy all of them at once. But there's one problem though. There are so many ETFs out there and you want to find the best one. Analyzing ETFs takes up so much time. You need to go to this website, search for the ETF, go to the ETFs page, go to the overview, check the overview, go to expose, check the exposure, go to chart, check the chart, go to returns, then check the returns, go to the dividends and check the dividends. And right when you thought you were done, guess what? You're not. You also have to go to this site, search for the same ETF. Go to the ETFs page, go to the tracking differences, check the traffic differences, go to the performance and check the performance. And now you're finally done. But guess what? You have to check another ETF. And so it all starts over and over and over again. Who the hell has time for that? The good thing is though, as a programmer, I can tell my computer to do this for me. It will extract the data, go through all the information and decide whether or not the ETF is worth investing in. And all of that in less than 1 second. In order to accomplish this task, I need to tell the algorithm what to look out for. So first, I need to figure out how this criteria might look. After watching countless YouTube videos, reading many articles and blog posts, I think I found the criteria that I'm looking for. There is no one-size-fits-all solution here. It's like asking me to recommend you the best wine or cheese. Everybody has a different taste, so picking out the best wine or cheese is a very individual thing. I also researched different ETF investment strategies and came up with the one that suits my needs best. Let me explain to you how my strategy looks like. I will be investing using the core satellite strategy. As the name implies, you have a big core in the middle and some smaller satellites surrounding it. The core will be the safety net of the portfolio, where most of my money goes into. It will consist of one relatively safe ETF that usually invests into the whole world. Then you have the small satellites. These represent more risky ETFs, but they also have the potential for higher returns if you compare it to the core. On the other hand, if things go south for one of these satellite ETFs, it will only be a small slice of the cake. In my case, I will put 70% of my monthly investments into the core and 30% into the satellites. I will pick 5 satellites with 6% of my total investment each. As for the core, I will go with the very conservative MSCI World ETF. This is like the mother of all conservative ETFs. And the satellites each will consist of a megatrend ETF. Some examples are innovative healthcare, artificial intelligence and green energy. During my research, I came up with these criteria. For the MSCI World, I want it to be a distributing ETF. The fund size should be at least 500 million euros and the ETF should be older than 5 years. As for the total expense ratio, it shouldn't be higher than 0.15%. The tracking difference should be negative, or at least as close to zero as possible. Picking out the criteria for the megatrend ETFs was quite difficult, but as a general rule of thumb, I want them all to be accumulating, and the fund size should be at least 250 million euros. The total expense ratio should be as low as possible, and the tracking difference should be as close as possible to zero. Again, the criteria I picked are very individual to my needs. They may look completely different for you. This is actually a quite interesting topic. Do you invest into the stock market using ETFs? If yes, let me know in the comments down below which ETFs you are buying and how the criteria look like that you used to pick them. Now I need to figure out where I can get all the information I need. During my research I found this very cool website which has a bunch of information about ETFs. To extract the information, I will be using a web scraper. If you don't know what a web scraper is, make sure to check out my video about how to write a web scraper using Golang. In there, I'm explaining in great detail what a web scraper is and how it works. But the gist of it is, a web scraper takes the HTML text of a website and extracts data given specific criteria. Okay, now I know which information I'm looking for and I know where I can extract it. So it's finally time to get the coding started. See you soon! Whew, I'm finally done with the coding part. The project itself was quite huge, but also super fun. In the end, I used not 1, not 2, but 3 different web scrapers to extract all the information that I needed. The The workflow looks like this. The first thing I need to do is visit this website right here and copy the names of all the categories that I'm interested in. Then I paste the name into this slice, so the web scraper knows that it should extract the data for this particular category. When running my scrapers, the first scraper checks the site for each given category, extracts the identifiers of each individual ETF and passes it to the second scraper. The second scraper then visits another website and extracts a bunch of general information. Then the third scraper gets into action and extracts the final data from this website right here. Finally, all the data gets stored into a database. Look at this, so much data! After retrieving the data, the next part was to find the best ETFs according to my criteria. The criteria for each individual category I want to analyze must be defined right here. Since the distribution policy, the minimum fund size as well as the minimal years of an ETF are strict criteria, they all appear in this criteria struct. As for the total expense ratio and the tracking difference, they both are no strict criteria, but rather kind of a sorting argument. When running the analyzer, it goes through all the data in the database, filters out the ones that do not meet my needs, and sorts so that the best ones are presented first. The final step is to write CSV files for every single category so I can analyze each category more easily. You can see that for each individual category, a CSV file was created. If we have a look at the MSCI World CSV file, the first ETF is the one that meets all my criteria and has the lowest total expense ratio. The tracking difference is 0, which also is a good indicator that whoever manages this ETF does a good job at replicating the index. If we have a look at the performance of this ETF compared to the others, we can see that it did pretty well. Too bad though that the value for the performance since the initial public offering is missing, so I guess I have to check it manually. But still, this ETF did well compared to the others. As for the dividends, if you compare the yield for each year to the other ETFs, it is not the best one, but still okay-ish. Now I would go through all these CSV files and compare each ETF to the others. This takes a lot less time than manually visiting 300 pages and write these CSV files my own. I have to get one thing straight though, this is no financial advice whatsoever. I might be completely off with all the criteria I use to pick my ETFs. If you want to pick some ETFs, make sure to do your own research. Okay, the fun part is over. I'm going to spend some money now and we see each other in 30 years on my private jet. And that was it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, keep on coding!